balls and throw them at people instead of this.
I'm 14.
Anyway,
man.
the guy
How
says,
old are you?
Oh, 17, something like that, 18 maybe.
Wait, so there has to be a third. So you got to shoot a cow in the face and then
no,
slit
in the
it.
head.
All right, semantics.
You didn't want to shoot him in the face because they made probably something out of the face too. I don't know.
Because there's a lot of mounted cows in rec rooms in Oklahoma right now.
Exactly.
With that bullet right there.
Costa Rica, in that bar, they listen to the crab feast. They got a
Yeah.
lot of mounted cows, or at least that's what they do when the fat tourist women come in. They call it mounting cows.
I had one with a bullet hole in it, the head.
Wait, hold on a second. So someone you
I didn't shoot any of them. I left
hold on a
before
second.
I had to.
Yo, you didn't do it.
Someone shoots the cow in the head with a .22.
Yeah, it's hanging upside down.
Does that same person in
Yes.
charge of So you
Yeah.
shoot the cow in the head.
You shoot
Put
the
your
cow
gun
in the
down.
head, and then you slit his throat.
But
And,
wouldn't
and-
just slitting its throat kill the cow?
Yeah, but you want to be humane about the whole
You
thing.
just ripped it.
You blow it through the brains and slide its throat. And you're
No, he's hanging up.
humane.
Don't worry. But first, he's standing
Everything's-
regular. Hold on, Ryan. He's standing regular, and he's like, "Meh," like just a dumb cow. And then he's got chains on his feet
Some
that he
are
doesn't
smarter
know
than
about.
others.
Rips them
Some
up.
are smarter than others.
Yeah.
Do
Anyway.
you believe that?
Oh, yeah.
Some cows are smart. How do you know a smart cow?
Well, a smart cow wouldn't be stuck in Snyder dress beef getting his throat slit and a bullet put in his head.
He would be
He'd
working
out
at the toll
He'd be out
toll
giving
booth,
mooning
turning-
around in the field or whatever the hell they do.
Dressed beef.
So, so to slaughter a cow. What year was that?
His daughter, Snyder's daughter, was gorgeous, too. I remember her. She hardly ever came in the factory, though.
Yeah, I would hate if you put a .22 in her head by accident.
Yeah.
So they let you handle. Well, hold on. There's so much of
They
this.
didn't let me handle anything. They were training me to be a cow killer.
It's like the
I
Marine Corps.
was a cow killer trainee.
You were an apprentice, like when
An apprentice.
When there's a trainee, like at TGI Fridays, they go, "Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm your server. This is Ashley. She's tailing me today.
Yeah.
Our house dressing today is a honey mustard peppercorn." That's always so awkward. There's that fucking almost waitress next to your waitress, and you feel like you don't know how much a percentage of attention you should give that person behind the person. So every 20% of the time, you just turn your head and nod, like, "Oh, that sounds really good." Person
You
next to
getting
the
this?
New
yeah,
person.
yeah. Are you getting this? So you shoot a cow in the head with a .22. Then
Yeah.
you slit its throat, and then
You catch the blood in
So
the
this is
big
one
picture.
person does all. This is a lot of
No,
jobs.
the guy who caught the blood is a different guy. The guy shoots him in the head. And,
Okay,
and
so
as, if I
blood
remember,
catchers.
if I remember correctly, he slit the guy's throat, but it probably was the guy shoots him in the head, and the other guy slits his throat and catches the blood at the same time. And then it just goes. He's already. Then he gets wheeled down the end, and they
Upside
cut the
down,
legs
like
up.
on a conveyor
he
belt,
goes
upside down?
You'd look down the line, and there'd be 10 dead cows there, and they'd be cutting them up and taking the legs off. I don't know what they do with the legs.
How long did you work there?
About from let me see, I'd say 9 o'clock till lunch. I never came back.
How many cows got killed while you were there?
Oh, couple dozen.
Really?
Jesus. Oh yeah.
So these guys are like expert cow killers.
Hey, they knew what they were doing.
True slaughterhouse.
They knew what they were doing.
So from 9 to noon, 12 to
Yeah.
20
and I was
cows
supposed to do
died.
my first cow after the break. He was
And
going
your
to let
buddy
me do.
fucked his whole ankle up
Yeah.
in that 3 hours and got paid
bastard.
for 5 months.
Oh, he got paid for whatever it is,
He's on-
I didn't even go back to pick my check up.
Why not? Just for the hot daughter alone.
They would have called me the biggest pussy in the world. It was worth not getting the money.
What do you think?
rather
They're
than-
not calling you that?
Yeah, but they're not.
Wait till they hear this.
They stopped in about 1974.
Do you skip your favorite sporting events or concerts because you think tickets are too expensive? Think again. ScoreBig.com makes live events affordable. 40% of live event tickets go unsold each year. Even when the arena or stadium is full, thousands of tickets are comped out or given away to make it look like a sellout. Minnesota Twins. ScoreBig.com works directly with the box office and other ticket providers to sell these tickets. Every ticket on ScoreBig.com is guaranteed to be between 10% and 60% off below retail price. Great seats from the front row to the rafters. Purchase your tickets days, weeks, or even months in advance. There are no fees or shipping charges ever. It is impossible to pay full price on ScoreBig.com. You are guaranteed to save on tickets. I love these people. Register on ScoreBig.com this week and use the code JAY to get an extra $10 off your purchase. This week only, go to ScoreBig.com, click on the radio button, and enter the code J. That's JAY. Always less than full price, never any fees. ScoreBig.com. That's ScoreBig.com. Enter the code J. Don't forget to enter J at ScoreBig.com. Uncle Dan, have you ever worked at a storage center?
No, never worked at a storage center.
You've done a lot of security work, which I found odd because you're the mellowest, most easygoing. Ryan Sickler is going through.
Not when you give me a
fascinated.
Hold on a
by
second.
this.
Ryan Sickler's going through your resume of jobs like he's preparing for his fantasy football draft. He's
I love it.
Page
Gotta.
after page after page.
Number 8 caught my attention. Also, Westboro Abrasives made the. It says here made the actual grinding wheels. A lot of Puerto Rican girls on the night shift.
They were all Puerto Rican girls. They would harass the shit out of us. We were like 18, and these girls would harass in Spanish. They'd harass the shit out of us.
How do you know they're harassing you if it's in another language?
Because they're saying stuff, and then they'd all laugh at you.
They're just dying to meet you. So bring a case of wine. Mick Jagger knew what he was singing about.
No kidding.
There's some Puerto Rican. What was that place called? Abrasives?
Westboro Abrasives.
Westboro Abrasive. There's Puerto Rican girls just dying to meet you.
Actually, the worst one was Washington Mill Abrasives. A couple up from that one.
You worked at two different places. What are
Two
abrasives?
different abrasive companies.
Abrasives are things. You know how you buy a grinding wheel?
Besides Jay Larson, what's an abrasive?
Abrasive stuff is the stuff that goes inside of grinding wheels. This place, Washington Mill Abrasives, though.
Wait, what's an abrasive? And I know the people listening are like,
they grind up.
No, I don't.
They grind up these rocks into teeny weeny little pieces, and then they put them in this.
How big is teeny weeny?
Oh, like that big, like a BB. Anyway, and then they push them all together and they make grinding wheels out of them. But Washington Mill Abrasives were the guys that all they did was grind the stuff up and then send it to like Westboro Abrasives and they'd put it together. But this place had so many rats. I mean, rats. But you'd look out the window. It was right there was like a little river running down, and there'd be, I'm not even exaggerating, 100, 200 rats down there. So the way they would grind up this stuff is they would have these big cages with these little like super balls before the super balls were even known, and they'd bounce all over the place. So we would take a few of those out, and you'd lean out the window and you'd throw it down on the creek where all these rats. It was so cool to see 200 rats scamper all over the place. But you'd be working there. All of a sudden, you'd look down at your feet, and there'd be rats walking all over the place. So I worked there about 2 days. My buddy and I...
2 days.
2 days. I couldn't take it. My buddy
Puerto
and I...
Rican girls were there, though.
Oh, that was at the other place.
Westboro
was Puerto Rican girls. The rats, what was worse, the Puerto Rican girls or the rats?
There were no Puerto Rican girls at this place. Even they wouldn't work in this place, I'll tell you that right now.
Even they wouldn't do
it.
Did the Puerto Rican girls, did the rats, what bothered you more, the Puerto Rican girls teasing you or the rats on your feet?
I didn't mind the Puerto Rican girls teasing me. The rats, I hate rats, so it just drove me crazy. My buddy and I, we both decided to quit. So... we knew if we went there and just said we're quitting, the guy would give us a hard time about his check because that was like pre-labor laws and they could keep your check forever. So we faked that we got into an accident down in Cape Cod. It's true. And I went in there and I wrapped my foot up in my knee, and I went in there with a crutch, and we put a big bandage on his head, and we went into this guy and said,
"You look like a revolutionary on a plate."
That's exactly.
Drawing.
We said we got into a big accident down in Cape Cod.
We got into an accident with the Hessians.
One crutch.
Yeah. He gave us a check.
He was holding a flute.
We told him we'd be back in 2 weeks.
And you never went back?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm not going to go back to some place where there's more rats than there are people working. Where there's more rats than there are Puerto Rican girls. That was my rule in those days.
What was your rule?
If there were more rats than Puerto Rican girls, I didn't work there. That was the rule.
There's got to be more Puerto Rican girls than rats.
That's exactly right.
What was that, Ryan?
I said I would work with those Puerto Rican girls.
They were fun.
Ryan loves women of color. Ryan's a big fan of the African American gals.
Oh,
and he loves
I love
Puerto Rican
all women,
girls.
but brown, just
If it's brown, flush it down. If it's yellow, let it mellow. Is that how it goes?
I don't know. I never heard that one.
I've never heard that.
Oh, it's all recycling.
I heard yellow.
If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's a brown, flush it down.
Oh, okay.
Like, don't flush your pee. You never heard that before?
No.
Really?
Say it again.
If it's yellow, let it mellow.
Yeah.
If it's brown, flush it down. So, like, if you take a leak, don't flush it. It's
don't
just
waste
piss
water. It's just piss.
You could save like 100,000 gallons a year just by not flushing your pee. And then when the apocalypse comes, it won't really probably make a difference.
Here's one that I think you and I, Jay Mohr, will both enjoy. Number 26 at the bottom of page 2.
I haven't had 26 jobs ever.
This is only page 2. The Milford House. The Milford House where Uncle Dan lived as a counselor in a psychiatric halfway house.
This was
wait, hold on a second. I've known you a long time. Yeah. You're not a doctor.
Well, not really.
I
don't have the degrees to prove it.
My paperwork says otherwise.
You didn't have to be a doctor to work there.
You went diner, construction. All right, you went country club, diner, construction, diner, cafeteria, restaurant, ice cream, psych ward.
I couldn't make up my mind whether I wanted to be a construction worker or a short order cook. So, I just couldn't.
So
Why couldn't you just figure out a way to be a short order cook for construction workers?
That would have been good if I could have figured it out.
The Milford House. Lived there as a counselor in a psychiatric halfway house.
Yep.
Norman. Who's Norman?
Oh, these are just some of the characters.
There you go.
I got it right here.
Oh.
The Milford House was, as I said, a psychiatric halfway house. And in those days, they were emptying all the state institutions in Massachusetts. They just were taking all the people out of the state hospitals. So they made all these.
And those of you listening at home, that's a C-130 troop transport plane going overhead. Just deal with it. Go ahead, Uncle Dan. Don't worry about it. We're not stopping.
The Milford House had up to 12 people. They had been in the state hospital for years and years and years. And what we were just counselors. We'd live there, and, you just take care of these people. You bring them to their jobs. You bring them to their workshops.
Do you think you got hired? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think you got hired because they saw your work in the slaughterhouse, and they saw you shoot a cow in the head with a .22 and slit its throat and catch his blood, and they said, you know what, if Norman gets out of line, we'll sick Dan Hoyt on him?
Exactly. In fact, that's they asked me my qualifications, and I said, I just told them that. And I said, I'll shoot these bastards right in the head if they don't mind their own business, and then,
How do you get? But you have
somebody's got to lift them up by their feet first.
That's right.
Who? Yeah. Very
Somebody
nice.
does that.
That was a big RBI double. That just hit the wall with a thump. That hit the wall so hard you got stranded at first.
As a stand-up two-bagger, I would hope.
Well, let's wait for the apartheid truck to go by. And by the way, if you got questions for Uncle Dan, we'll bring them back. # Uncle Dan, Mohr Stories, and I'll collate them all into one aggregated stream. And because I know you guys are going to have questions for Uncle Dan. How do you know to apply at a mental hospital as a job as a counselor, coming off of 8 construction and 7 restaurant jobs? What part of that made you say, you know what, I need to help people that are mentally ill?
I had nothing to do with that. I got up and I needed a job, and I looked in the paper, and that must have been one that was right there.
Right there in front of you, or right there close to your house?
I was just a great interviewer. I would just look at a job and say, I'm going to take that job. And, it wasn't like I was overly qualified or underqualified or anything.
Oh, what do you mean overly qualified? It's a mental hospital. And you walked in.
It's a psychiatric halfway house. These guys are a step up from the mental hospital.
Qualified. Uncle Dan's going, it wasn't a psych ward. It was a psychiatric halfway house.
That's right.
It's not Amway. It's Confederated Home Products. It's a completely different breed of product.
Hey, that was a great job. There were like three of us lived there. We lived on the 3rd floor.
You lived in the place?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
I lived on the 3rd floor. Because that's what you had to. You had to.
What is explained? So,
well, we would get up. There'd be like 10 or 12 people.
He didn't tell you what he wanted explained.
Oh, good.
Why were these men there? Like, what was
and women? It was
okay, men and women. So, what
Any
was
action?
their
Any Puerto Rican girls?
no Puerto Rican girls.
What was their main? Did they have like mental breakdowns? Like, why were they there being acclimated back into society?
Most of them, for some reason or other, had been stuck in a state hospital years before when they were kids. A lot of, even some of them had been bona fidely crazy, but some of them were just like epileptics. And in those days, if you were epileptic, they'd just shove you in there. And then even if you weren't crazy, you became crazy after a few years.
If you're bona fide crazy, did they give you a ribbon or a plaque?
They give you a tattoo.
A number.
Anyway, they were all there, and our job was just to get them to their workshops and, do counseling sessions like we knew what we were doing. But you'd mostly get them to their workshops or their regular jobs. Nobody really had a regular job. They all worked at workshops. And, there was a social center downtown. There were
What town is this in?
Milford, Massachusetts. I mean, it was a wacky job. Let me tell you, this guy.
So?
But they weren't crazy.
How so?
This guy.
We live in a crazy house.
This guy Louis had a thing about looking at his reflection. And if he's sitting here just looking at you right now, he would be able to see his reflection in your retina. Or he'd look at, you'd see, and all of a sudden he'd be doing this, and he'd be looking at his reflection, and no matter what, he could see his reflection. You'd be in a room, and you'd say, Louis will never be able to see his reflection anyplace. And he would see his reflection in whatever it was.
He would zone on that, like if it was on a lamp or something.
Was he a handsome guy at least?
No, Louis wasn't that handsome, but this one guy, Dick Zeff, Reinhard Zeff, was one. I mean, this guy was just a handsome man, but as crazy as whatever. I mean, crazy.
Was he a German man?
Yeah.
Reinhard Zeff.
Reinhard Zeff. Poor Reinhard. He was like, a great-looking guy, and just was crazy from when he was 7 or 8 years old. So,
I've never met a 7-year-old crazy person.
he was. He's one of these guys that when he was like 7 or 8 years old, they put him in institutions, and he stayed there until he came to the Milford House. And it's our job after 40-something years to straighten his ass out.
Right, that's
How the
what
hell
I'm
are you going to do that?
Right.
You'd say, Dick, what do you want to do today? He was just as wacky as can be. I mean, Dick was just the craziest person you ever want to meet.
Well, what? Tell us stories.
What would happen with Dick when all of a sudden too much pressure would happen? Dick would just start screaming. I mean, it'd be something, anything, just a little bit of pressure. Like you'd say, "Hey, Dick, you got to put your shoes on. We're going outside. You can't go out bare feet. It's winter time.
Pressure.
It's winter." Oh, and Dick would start screaming and walking down the street.
I'm getting